Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jay Nicole back with another YouTube video. So, in today's episode, I'm gonna give y'all quick story time. All right, talk about how I made $90,000 signing a deal in Baltimore. All right, so the year is 2020. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jay Nicole back with another YouTube video. So, for y'all that don't know, my name is Jay Nicole, real estate investor based out of Baltimore. Flipped over 100 houses in the past 8 years. And in today's episode, I'm gonna give y'all a quick story time on how I made my biggest check in real estate. So, I'm gonna take y'all back, right? The year is 2021. So at the recording of this video, this is 2026. This was 5 years ago, right? So we in the middle of the pandemic. I'm virtually wholesaling, which I didn't know was a thing at the time. I just kind of was figuring it out as I was going. So I was actually living in California at the time and flipping still in Baltimore, right? So this was the days of the spray and pray method, where you pull a bunch of lists and you just skip trace everything. You blast SMS, you blast them with ringless voicemail, you just reach out to as much people as possible, and in hopes to get some sort of lead activity. So now, after doing that, and kind of like recycling these lists, because at the end of the day, Baltimore has a population of 500,000. So including the county, I would say like the surrounded county, I would say around like 1.2 million people. And out of that, probably like 200,000 households. We probably got accurate contact info on, I would say, roughly like 40%. So just rough numbers, we looking at approximately just like 80,000 people that we have contact information for, right? So over the years of me pulling these lists, skip tracing, and getting contact info, what I've noticed was like, you know, the contact rate is still high, but ultimately there were some there were some contacts where I would have the information, but for whatever reason, they just didn't want to sell, or it was just like a really dry spell. So in flipping and real estate investing, or just being an entrepreneur in general, you're going to go through a lot of dips, right? You're going to go through very hot months of just constant activity, and it's going to be followed by like drips and pullbacks in the market, right? It comes with the game. So during this time I had a pullback, I really started to like analyze my data, and I was like, let me really see what's going on and see how I can really niche down and focus on the best deals, or the people that have the highest likelihood of selling. So what I did was I went inside of my database and I filtered it based on the properties that appeared on the most amount of lists, right? So at the time, I think I was using a service called Batch Leads, and I filtered it based on lists, and it was from highest to lowest. And the first contact information that popped up was a property in Baltimore County, and it was on my driving for dollars list. It was on a tax delinquent list. It was vacant. It had a bunch of targets, and I'm like, this seems interesting. I never really contacted them. Let me see if I could deep dive the situation a little bit further. So I pulled the property address. I think it was 6503 Maplewood, if I'm not mistaken. 6503 Maplewood Drive. I'm gonna double check that. I'm gonna definitely double check that and give y'all an update once I pull the HUD as far as me editing this video. But yeah, what I did was I ultimately like deep dived the actual contact information, right? So I pulled the address. The first thing I did was go on my state's tax assessor's website. So whatever state you're located in, it just most I'm pretty much sure every state has a public um, data tool where you can look up the ownership information of the property. Right? I think there's certain states that may have privacy. I know Texas might be one of them, but for the most part, most states have a website where you could go on and you can see who's the owner. So since I'm in the state of Maryland, there's something called SDAT where you could go and put in the address and it'll show you who's the owner. So that's what I did. I went on our state's tax assessor's website, put in the address, and a name came back. And it said, I think his name was Richard. This was like 5 years ago, but his name was Richard. I know I remember that. I don't remember his last name. And what I did was typically what I like to do, if I have contact info and it's not accurate, or we've been trying to reach out to them a few times and still nothing, like no contact, like we didn't get in touch with nobody, I like to just deep dive it a little further. So first thing I do is get the owner's information, their name, right? Once I have that, I just copy that and put it into Google. And I put the city too. So Richard, last name, and put Baltimore. So once I did that, I put it into Google. First thing I saw was that he passed away. He was deceased. And they actually had like an obituary. So the obituary said he leaves behind a wife and like a daughter. So I'm like, this is interesting. All right, so obviously I just go down the lineage, right? So the next thing I do is I see who the wife's name is. I copied her information, and then I put it in True People Search. And I think her name was Catherine, and her information came up as she's living in Florida. So I pulled, for y'all that don't know, truepeoplesearch.com is a great free public resource that you can just put, someone's name, address, and it'll come back with skip tracing. It's not the most accurate, but for y'all that's just starting out and it's free, it's quick, I would highly, highly recommend that. So I put her name in True People Search and I proceeded to give her a call. They had a list of like 5 numbers. The first number I called, she picked up. She was like, hello? I was like, hey, I introduced myself. And I was like, hey, are you the owner of Maplewood Drive? And that's when she was like, no. But she immediately told me the story, right? She told me that was her ex-husband and he had passed away. And ultimately, they just never got around to doing anything. She thought that the city took it over and that she just lost it. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. You still have the opportunity to sell it, and I'm definitely interested in buying it. And I could tell she was kind of overwhelmed and she was kind of like nervous. And obviously you're getting a random cold call from somebody. Like, you don't know if it's a scam or what. So I kind of pulled back. I'm like, hey, I don't want to pressure you into like making a decision right now. But I tell you what, like, I'm going to talk to my title company and see if there's still an opportunity to sell it. And how about we schedule a call for next week? She was like, okay, yeah, that'll be fine. So I did exactly that. I reached out to the title company. Again, this is why relationships are important. You got to have relationships with title companies, title agents, title attorneys, so that way they could just do quick, just public, quick lien searches to see if the property still can be sold or if they have ownership on it, right? So that's what I did. And he came back. He was like, yeah, they can sell it. So that's when I called her. And then she told me that, the daughter is the heir to the estate. And, we would like to sell it. So that's when there was no probate. There was no will involved. So I had to like get her in contact with a probate attorney to open up an estate. I told her I would cover all the costs. Don't even worry about it. And we ended up doing that. Long story short, it took like a good 3 months from start to finish to get everything like on file for her to actually sell it. But we agreed to one number, and then as we got closer to another, to closing, she kind of like renegotiated. She felt like she wanted more, and that was cool because I was gonna make a great, a great spread on it. So I ended up, giving her a little bit more for the property, and ultimately we closed the deal. We made like probably like 90,000 on it. We sold it to a contractor. He did a great rehab. He like completely, you know, fully rehabbed it. On top of like adding a whole nother level on the property, like cut the top on it and everything. So it was a win-win on all sides. I'm sure the contractor made a boat ton of money. That's why he didn't mind paying me, that huge assignment fee. So it was just a win-win, man. And ultimately, like, the moral of the story is you got to solve problems. Like, we're all in the business of solving problems. And like, imagine getting a call from a random stranger about a property of your ex-husband passing away. You thought you lost the property to the city, and now you're getting over $100,000. Like, that's like that's like an amazing feeling to have. It's like you hitting the lottery, pretty much. They hit the lottery, and obviously we did her a great service, and it was a win-win all around. So moral of the story is, the bigger problems you solve, the bigger your deals are going to be. So if y'all watching this video, make sure y'all go out there and solve problems. And ultimately, you might not get paid right away, but ultimately, the more problems you do solve, it'll come back to you, man. That's just the universal laws of the way things work. All right, so that pretty much wraps up today's video. If y'all like this content, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, and comment, man. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know what y'all biggest assignment fee was, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. All right, peace.